All right, so that was the defendant's testimony there. Alan Tuerkheimer, a litigation consultant, with me now, joining us. Thank you so much.
Good to be here.
I want to ask you, since you just jumped on the show right now, what's your reaction to this guilty verdict?
Interesting, she took the stand, and with that testimony, I don't think any juror would have expected that coming from a police officer. She really lost it, and on some level, some probably are wondering, is this really the police officer that went in there on that night, and are we to believe everything that she's saying? She really broke down, and ultimately they had to decide whether or not they believed her version of the events, and maybe they felt like it was a stretch. She was saying she has to live with it, she feels bad, she this and that, and ultimately they just didn't buy her testimony.
Right, and do you think that her testimony ended up hurting her in the end?
I do. I don't think that, I've never seen an officer testify like that. I mean, obviously, if you take somebody's life, there's contrition and sorrow and all those feelings that go with it. But the way she presented herself, I think she probably rubbed some of the jurors the wrong way. And I don't think she did herself any service by taking the stand and testifying the way she testified to.
Agreed. All right, Alan, thank you. And I want to ask you this, because one of the things that was brought up during this trial a lot was how Amber, many people said Amber did not give the proper aid she should have to Botham Jean. And that was a big factor that was brought up multiple times. Do you think that's going to play in to the sentencing at all?
Yes, I definitely do. And that was a big factor. She invoked her training in her testimony about certain things she did. And then, of course, she didn't try and really save his life. And she was just me throughout all of this, texting her boyfriend, basically being kind of like lacking any kind of emotion, scrolling through her phone while she's in the police car, etc. And that's something a judge is going to look at is, what her mental state is, her lack of remorse, and anything that mitigates. But the failures really aggravate.
All right, and thank you. We're going to play you now the prosecution's closing arguments, because this was a huge point here that many people thought really sealed the deal. Let's listen to this. This is Jason Fine talking about being a police officer, but also being responsible for taking a life. All right, so again, that was the prosecution's closing arguments. Ashley McMahan, what'd you think? You think he did a good job?
I think he did a really great job. And one thing I particularly liked that he said in closing, and we didn't get to see it in this clip, but and we did see Amber on the stand, and she's saying things like, I have to live with this for the rest of my life. I don't want anyone to have to feel this way, the way that I do. I feel like I don't deserve to be around my family and friends. And that prosecutor, Jason took that argument and her testimony on the stand and those crocodile tears, and he literally took a piece of paper, crumpled it up, and said, that is garbage, and threw it in a trash can. And I thought that was a really good use of, his ire and like him showing the jury that this is complete, complete bull, complete made up, stuff, that she only has remorse now. And even in her remorse now, when she is facing 99 years, she's still talking about the effect on her and not talking about the victim. And I think he did a great job.
Yeah, I completely agree. And especially, as you said, the point where he crumbled that piece of paper. I think things like that really stick in jurors' heads. Again, we are waiting the sentencing phase to start. That is supposed to start at 2 o'clock, so I'm keeping my eye on that court feed right now as we will wait and play that live when it happens. But Alan, I'll come back to you. Since you just joined the show here, I'll catch you up to speed. We've been talking about the guilty verdict, the sentencing to come. Tell us, what do you think will be a big part of this sentencing? What can we see, hopefully in a few minutes here when this starts?
Well, I think it depends on how everything is framed, but people always just look at things as they unfold and then currently. So as it was mentioned, if somebody has remorse, well, was there remorse from the beginning? And people want to know what is consistent behavior, and where is somebody now? What is the state of mind of Guyger? And is she really, does she get it? Or is she still thinking that this is about her and how she's going to be moving forward?
Right, absolutely. And Anne, what do you, I know it's going to be hard to make a prediction here about this sentencing, but we do know that it's 5 to 99 years. Do you think she'll get max? What do you think?
I think she'll get higher end. I think just given what we know about this judge so far and the reaction that we've seen to this verdict and how it's being embraced, I think that it's going to be a higher end. Because one other thing I thought about, when Guyger was testifying and she started to do the poor me, it's all about me, you know, I just have to live with this every day. Every time there was an objection, the judge sustained it very firmly. And I thought, we kind of know what she thinks about this testimony and this defendant.
Right. And, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that was something that people had brought up from the beginning, from the 911 call. When we heard that 911 call, she talked about herself. She said she was going to lose her job. She spoke about her and her situation first before Botham Jean's. And that, I don't think, rubbed people the right way. And I think that resonated and stayed in a lot of folks' head, because that 911 call, yes, she obviously was shocked and in distress, but that's all she talked about. Ashley, comment on that.
She not only just talked about, you know, she said, I am expletive, and then, you know, talked about she's going to get fired. All of this while somebody is lying in front of her, literally bleeding to death. I mean, if I'm a juror, that's something I'm not going to forget. And at the same time that she's on the phone with 911, she's still texting her partner. She's trying to cover her own self. You know, she's trying to make sure that she is protected in this. And she, you know, knows how this is going to turn out. And her reaction that evening, her reaction even in panic, when her first thought is about her, that's her true reaction. Not the one that's formulated after being trained by attorneys and being talked to by her defense counsel while she is on the stand. And I think the judge is seeing through that.
All right, Ashley McMahan, thank you. Anne Bremner, thank you. And Alan Tuerkheimer. We're going to take a break right now on Law and Crime. When we come back, hopefully we'll be able to go live to the sentencing phase of Amber Guyger's trial. Stay with us.